Hello, Wild Wisdom Warriors. Hello, YouTube. Hello, shamans from all over the world. This is Lily Kolusova. Thank you so much for joining me. This is, of course, my journal. Today is May 22nd, and it's Friday. So, guess what? VINO Friday. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who joined. Aloha, aloha, Teresa. Thank you guys for being here. So, VINO Friday. Okay. So, what I'm going to be talking today, there's quite a questions and quite a bit that I need to go back to on the possession. And but today I kind of wanted to take a lighter approach, and I promise I will come back to like a deeper decode on possession and the dynamics and all the patterns and all of that stuff. But today I kind of wanted to keep it light since it's Friday. So I thought I will expand a little bit more on that sort of formula on how you can unmask a possession, okay? And this is the formula that I call bing, bang, and boom. And this is a formula, a sort of a 3-stage formula to unmask a narcissist, or you can, because this is what I'm trying to kind of talk about. And this is why I say, you guys, there's a lot of research out there on narcissistic abuse and how that relates actually to a spiritual infection or invasion, okay? And so it is indeed connected, all of this. And so this is why I kind of familiarize myself, and also asking you guys to do the same about these terms, because I am not sure what other terms I can use to talk about possession and how it affects people in this reality, in our material world, and how it affects us. And so I'm looking at this from a shamanic perspective as usual, and as usual it's going to be my own shamanic journey and my own research that I have been doing, in fact, on this invasion or the infection or the crime against human consciousness. This is what in the past I have called myself a human consciousness investigator, because it seems like ever since my first near-death experience, which was at 5 years old, I had a gift of recognizing and knowing this infection. And so all these years, you guys, I have been diligently studying and noting every little detail about this infection. So, but I, as usual, wanted to simplify, and with my simple words, I think, and so my simple 3 words for those 3 stages on how to unmask this infection, either within yourself or within others, or how you can then, by knowing how to do this and how to use this formula on yourself, and then using this formula, you can unmask any and all invasion within your own field. And this is ultimately what true shamans is doing, is that facilitating, because the healing is always from within, and it has to be the individual. Can never be healing from without. And this is why this 3-stage, I will talk about why it is so important to initiate your client, if you're a healer, to initiate your client's healings. You never perform a healing. You initiate their healing path. Or as I called it in the past, that um, metamorphosis process. And this is ultimately um, the responsibility of shaman, is to initiate their client into the metamorphosis process. So here's to all of you who joined me for Friday. Teresa, aloha, I said. Anna, hello. Bella, hello. Sunshine, hello. Rob, thank you so much for joining me. Savannah, hello, darling. Thank you, thank you. Sunshine to you too. To all of you shamans out there that's standing strong, thank you. Thank you. You are the wisdom holders, okay? Because this is where the wisdom is. Once you find a way how to get to the core of any issue. And so, when it is an infection or a parasitic form of consciousness infection, is what we're talking about in possession, then you can then, like I said, freely, and I've talked about the 3 E's formula, and you can freely sort of recognize that in other people. And so now we come, and I wanted to talk about today about the positive side of this. So the bing, bang, and boom. And so basically, this is kind of like that awakening to your own sort of this metamorphosis process. Okay, so when you think about this metamorphosis, and I've said that it's like the butterfly goes through that process, and I know that the symbology of butterfly had been used for MK Ultra, but I use nature because that's, to explain the nature transformation, because we see how nature herself, in order to transmute and transform and grow and expand and all of that, has to go through this destructive, deconstructive process. Okay, and this is the cycle of creation in this reality. And so we ourselves as shaman, being in our own nature, which is in alignment with the nature of this reality. Cheers, Bella. Cheers, Teresa. So the ultimate, right? So what is the ultimate experience in this reality? Okay, so what would you guys say? What would be the ultimate experience in the, and we're looking at an individual, but we're looking from shamanic spiritual perspective, but yeah, we're looking to establish a foundation for true wellness. Okay, if you want to talk, be all spiritual and all glorious, you can say you can activate your Holy Trinity. Okay, meaning you're anchoring yourself in true wellness. And this is why in the past I mentioned quite a bit how it is vital for us, all of the shamans, because true shaman has to accept their mission, meaning you have to accept the body and what your blood codes. This is how it activates. It's that love, the eternal love, the force that makes it happen, all of it. It's sort of it's in your blood. Like people say, it's in your blood. And this is why I called it a blood codes, because this, you activate your love for living. Okay, so you living, so your life force, this is like a life force, because even in the Bible it says blood is where the life force is manifests into this world, through where the life is. Or I don't remember the passage exactly how it says, because I'm English. Okay. But the reason why I talk about to look what narcissistic terms and narcissistic abuse means, because those are sort of the effects, or then in so and this is more of a than when we wanted to do this psychological math, so to speak. Okay. um and this is where you can see psychologically, and then this is also why it is so important that you go through this metamorphosis process yourself. Okay. And so, because so this is in a way, this formula is kind of like a psychological. So I'm looking from, how to so your mind, your mental body, your emotional body, and your physical body are all are part of your physical body. Without your emotional body, without your mind, you wouldn't, your body can't really operate. And so this is, you got to understand the unit that is you, that is the true, that is the spirit in human form. Okay. And so the ultimate, then the ultimate freedom here in this reality, it is a duality, but there's a freedom, or meaning the free spirited, right? Meaning everyone has their authentic, individual, unique path to experience, because they know they are the breath of God themselves, right? So, and that's what I call the gypsy souls, or the free spirit, the one that is cannot be owned by anybody. And then sometimes they say, oh, well, it's a royal bloodline. No, it's those that make themselves royal. Because when we come to a possession, and this is when you come and you realize that it's a ownership, and this is a draconian law. And so now when you see all of these things, about all of the teachings about possessions, all of those teachings about the possessions, what's the foundation for it? Draconian law. What I'm talking about, a foundation of the Holy Trinity, that is a living presence of God within you, and you as human being, not just acknowledging. Like many Christians are so confused, and they say, oh, I got to acknowledge that that Jesus suffered for me, and that's all it takes. No, you have to be it. Jesus has said in the Bible himself, you have to be it. See, this is where the tricksters come in. Because then external. So what ultimately you stand on is this wellness foundation. And so from this point of view, this is your like armor too, because you're unbreakable, and because you have not allowed a parasitic form of consciousness own you. You have not given any authority of your spirit to anyone else. And this is why we talk about so much, why it requires so much, and so much sort of mind control operations to keep your free spirit enslaved. Hi, Naraf. Great to see you here. So, you're talking about maybe everybody who's born here is a host. Okay, I'm going to talk about host, and this is what I was talking about when in draconian law, and what they've made it out to be. This is your twin flaming, which is a dark coupling that I talked about last time. And this is what happens with the possession when one or the other. And I know the last time, again, I give an example that a male gets infected with this um, uh, um, entity, Or they could be infected at the same time, at the ritual that some dark magicians is doing, that they don't even know that they have agreed to, being ritualistically bonded. So, and this is what happens with draconian law, is the ritualistically bonding things that they do, okay? And why it is required all the rituals. But because you're absolutely right, because now whoever gets, the host, and then once the first individual, it doesn't matter, male or female gets infected with this entity, or possessed with the twin flame entity, what happens is automatically, once they come together in the ritual, and if that, and so even what happens, right? If the female, okay, and this is because I've done this, I've examined this too and studied. If the female had already been possessed with the entity and all of that stuff, and then she has already done a ritual, then all she needs to do is find the male and then finish her ritual, which could be just one word that he has to agree to something. He has no idea what it's going on. But because and then physical connection, of course, solidifies that possession in the body then. And this is what happens. And this is why I talk about that. And I will come back today. I want to really talk about the bang bang and boom. Hi Danielle, thanks for being here. But I will come back to the children. Then they are born in this sort of structure, in this dynamic. And then so what happens is then the entity has the right to the child fully, soul, everything. And so this is what they play on. And so when you study what the demonic stuff, how it works and all of that stuff, so this is why there is so much of the ritualistic stuff that's happening, okay? So but anyway, that happens to the children then that been conceived during either a ritual or or any other. And this is the ownership or the authority over everything, because once because of the predatory nature of this consciousness, okay? And so when you talk, so it's C Naref, it's a little bit more than a host. It's just, so this is why I say why it is so important to own your full self and own all of your powers, and never give your powers away to anyone or anything. Trust no one but self. Because this is what's going on. When you're standing on that foundation of wellness, you're free spirit, you know that you have a free choice. But at the same time, because you're carrying the human consciousness, which is divine, that's your 95% of DNA, divine consciousness, right? You'll have what those that give in into possession don't have. What you have is not just freedom of expression, you also have that mutual regard and mutual feeling and a mutual recognition of someone else who has exact same foundation. Here's your law of attraction, except it's in the works in the now moment. How it's always, you just know who's who, basically. And this is sort of the process of that being. So the only people that are capable of having a being are the ones that have enough morals or have enough mutual regard for another human being or human being life to where they sort of can hear. That's why I said, the being is, Hermetic principle, as within, so without. This is your 5D reality. This is actually how a fifth, someone who is operating on 5D here already anchoring. This is how you anchor that 5D reality, as within, so without. So, as within, you guys, that's your being. So you recognize yourself or your eternal self as authority. Your free spirit is authority. Nothing and no one can own you. Because remember, I said not all, because a narcissistic spectrum, okay? And we all have in this reality, because our body consciousness is invaded. Spectrum of narcissism. And so we were talking about malignant. We're talking about malignant will also play victim, you guys. And they are cornered. Okay. And here's the difference. Okay. When you free spirit, you know this, and many of you shamans out there, when you free spirit, you have to always stand as a warrior. That's what warrior is the free spirit. You have to, because there's always constantly something or some forces on the external, which is invasive forces, that is what are doing, submitting you into some sort of authority, be it a religious authority, be it any kind of authority. And then when you look at narcissists and what is that their thing, what it is they don't have this free spirit. Why? Because they don't have the core to stand on it, because it is a parasitic form of consciousness. Okay? And so the reason why I said they don't have, like in the Bible, the ears to hear the call or the being from within. They have no ability or capability to know they self, because in fact they do not have they self, because it's a parasite. It wants to take yourself and take your life force and experience your life instead of you. Okay? And so, and this is when also when you become understand and as the warrior, then also how to deal with possession. And this is what I'm saying. Okay. You recognize your power. That's your being. Okay? That's here. Remember this, you guys? So this is your this is why shamans use sound. This is why the drumming, this is what it is, because the sound puts you, and this is what aligns your mind. And this is when you can then open your flow, and this is your self-realization. And this is what then, because this is bing bang boom, what it does, it liberates you first. This is a liberation formula for you first, to liberate yourself. So that's why I say, I can't give you and say, say, okay, this is what's going on with some of the leaders. So let's look at them from the perspective of like narcissists, because there is so much research, and you can go look at the behaviors and then look at what this leaders, like I've mentioned in the past, like Ike and Wilcock and blah, 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 blah. What have they done in the past? They've submitted you to some sort of authority. Okay. So, but, and basically that's what it was. They were talking about their authority because they are under it. And this is ultimately why possession takes place, because it's the opposite of the freedom of the free spirit. It's somebody else wants to own your soul and live through your soul, through your experiences here. And then you are just numbed down and dumbed down. So this then, what happens is, this is then when you think in this psychological math, when you're doing this, they have no access to the living flow. Like I said, is the dead light consciousness. Okay. You can only mimic your life force. So this is why I say you're so powerful. We're so powerful. Okay. So much more powerful than this thing. So again, like I was talking about, when you're looking at this formula of bing, bang, boom, you're looking at this formula from this perspective as a free spirit standing in this position of foundational wellness. Okay. And then you know that whoever is possessed, okay, you can clearly see that they're standing on the foundation of they have no self, nothing. And so the only way, so if they have no power without you giving them your power. And this is that sort of initiation. And this is when you see that, and you see that, and you truly recognize it, that this is a parasite and it cannot exist without the host. And this is when I say, this is when you reclaim yourself by reclaiming your power, because you ultimately have to realize that they have zero, nada, zilch, zilch power. Okay? Because their power comes through others giving it by submitting to them. Submitting to them. That's why they have to own you. And this is why the narcissistic abuse, especially the malignant narcissist, will always tell you why. It's something that that will always be sort of a sign, because there is 3 V's. Okay, vindictive, violent, and that means, emotionally violent. I'm talking about spiritual, meaning because that ownership, because this is how they use, and then victimhood. And this is how they use to get your submission and fear, right? And so this is how they are, but they use fear against you. But if you stand on your true foundation, you're free spirited. So fear does not apply to you. Authority does not apply to you. And see, and this is where we run into the problem. But at the same time, when you, true shaman, you know exactly, the world runs into a problem, but you know exactly where you recognize who is narcissist, who's possessed, and who's possessing them with spirit. This is the point of that recognition also. So this is the unmasking then of that, because now everything what the narcissist does to other people is make them believe all these illusionary things about them, right? All these things, but ultimately, in the way they mimic, they only mimic you, but they only mimic you so then they can use all of that against you, because they always come in as authority over you. So when you're talking about relationship, and if we're talking about people that are possessed by this entity of twin flame, okay, what happens is they're constantly, this is a relationship, like I said, it's like no, a narcissist, they don't look for a meaningful, a mutual regard, for a mutual love, respect, for authenticity, for originality. There is, they don't understand that. It is not their world. Wellness is not their world. In fact, what it is lack of life. It is the anti-life force itself that drives them. So what it drives through that, and so they don't look for a partner. When the narcissist looks for a relationship, they don't look for a partner. They look for a host, for that twin flame entity that they're carrying now. If they just lost somebody, or they're constantly going to be in the need of supply. And so that's why in those relationships, they will always like cheat and have somebody on the side, even if it's just like mental, even if it's just online, keep enough friends, but they suck everybody, including those. So they always, through friends, they will always have already a replacement for somebody that they're exhausting, because this is a vampiric form of consciousness. It knows that eventually they will exhaust individual. Once they put that free spirit into submission, then eventually it's over. But then you come to this thing. What happens is now you come to the point on the unmasking. So if you look at unmasking narcissists, so this is what you would, on unmasking the possession, you recognize that somebody's possessed, okay? And so what happens is a lot of research on relationships, and why I talked about last time about the entity of the twin flames, um, is because it's there is a lot of people that are dealing with this entity, and what happens with this entity, with the narcissist, and how they always looking for the female supply. And I give you examples with some of the spiritual leaders, and how they operate, and how they go through females, and how they always need multiple females to serve them, because they're under this sort of same type of because they're themselves enslaved, okay, they're by this spirit, because this spirit is now occupying this vessel. And so that's why retaining your power is so important then. And this is why I said then this is what results is you accepting your body, and you accepting what it is that you're doing in this, and you know whatever it is, whatever runs through my blood, this is my mission. So, okay. So when you see, right, any form of, of those sort of victimhood, playing victim, or all of that, the feeding, sort of feeding. And when you stand on your foundation on wellness, and someone comes in and they're immediately trying to show their authority over you or put you in submission, because ultimately they don't know how to be free spirit. Someone who's possessed, they don't know how to be free spirit. So that's why, like in relationship, infected and someone who is, infecting the other individual, they need to, like I say, they need to prep them for that infection. They need to infect them with the same belief systems about their relationship. Okay. And this is how you do it in the spiritual community really quick. You can do it on the beach in Sarasota, Florida, in one swoop. Pick about 9 couples, put them in the circle, and boom, and you initiate that session. Okay? And so that belief system is immediately sets in. Okay? So like I give example. So now what happens is, because they don't know anything but slavery, they don't understand freedom. This is your bang stage. This is your bang stage. This is the stage where you are in full control. And this is when you cannot stick there, oh, I'm a crying warrior. You got to be so strong emotionally and physically in every form and mentally, because you got to bang. Okay, you got to bang because you got to restructure. Okay, and so this is where I talk about that, like about loving them or whatever, exposing them. Okay, and this is what you're unmasking. You're standing in your now truth. You are freedom. You let the freedom ring, and you let the freedom ring. Okay, this is a liberation process. So now we're coming to the boom. Okay. So this is your process of, and if you want to look at this like a metamorphosis and stuff like that, this is the chewing through the cocoon thing. So you discard and you cut and you stand up and you spread and then you show your sort of you returning your power. This is the process. Banging, you returning your power. Okay, you're returning your own power. You standing up for yourself. Okay, and there comes the boom. And then comes the boom. It's when you take a responsibility for your own reality. And this is the step. The boom is when you yourself now know your power, and that you know that you're so powerful. And then this is the last stage that you got to do, is you have to release any possession. It is up to you. So here's you to release or liberate yourself. And this is the boom. And so then now you command any and all entities that are not, and this is as within, so without, fully, meaning as within, because you had your being, you eternal being, had ring, your bell had ring. Now you own your reality, this material world. This is why sound is so important, because it has to happen here. And this is why it's the third boom, B, is the boom. And this is what, like I said, Castaneda said, this is when the flyers flee. And this is a point of pressure because it goes in, and this is very emotional because it's got to restructure your emotional body. And you have to be really, really strong, because you have to command yourself. You have to chew through that cocoon in a way. You have to liberate yourself. You have to command your space free of any invasion, of any parasitic forms, of any on and on and on. But when we're talking about possessions, any and all entity, if you know, if you, this is truly when you stand in your power, then you can do this. You command them to leave. You don't need to stay in victim field. This is where sort of the anti-life force had tricked a lot of people into giving their life force to it through submission, through trickery, and through all kinds of things. But when you truly, truly do this for yourself first, and this is why I say, when you do it for yourself, you ultimately what narcissists aren't. You're confident. You know who you are because you know the self. Absolutely, Teresa. You can cast them out. You can cast them out immediately. You don't have to wait to go to church on Sunday. You don't have to do anything. You claim yourself them in now moment, each moment. And this is what I talk about, that, and that you recognize and you know that your life here is that shamanic journey. You have to claim, just like with the narcissist, you have to claim because they don't know boundaries, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, but you do. Jules Win, hi. Michael, hello. So basically, and this is what I said, you don't have to operate on that same level with narcissists. So when there's people out there, they're the crying victim and all of that stuff, all the drama that's happening, it's happening for a very specific reason because there's milking going on. So, and this is boom, is this is when you stand, when you just claim your power and there is no entity can have effect on you. And it's just, and this is what ultimately, when those of you that have studied the very original Gnostic teachings, and in there when they it talks about, and then Nakamadi Library there in there, there's also talks about when oh, again, I can't remember the word. Anyway, you guys, I kind of don't have much time, but I forgot the word. But what I kind of wanted to say is that once you truly, but there was a word that Jesus said too. I can't remember. When you truly stand in yourself, then you know what's happening. Like I said, you know who's possessed, you know what drives that individual, you know exactly how that whole thing, because you've seen the patterns, you know the patterns, now you can call the name of it and all of that stuff. And this is ultimately how like I said, how do we get rid of parasites in our bodies, right? And this is why I say I call sometimes this truth or this bang, where I talk about on a collective level, when I see and I just, I describe the fruit that those trees bear. And then it's up for you to recognize the fruit. So it's like by their fruits, you'll know them. So when you bang in your truth, and some people that claiming to be free spirited and giving you the same respect of having a free choice universe, to be sovereign, but yet they display authority over you. Malignant narcissists will lie. And then what happens is, you guys, what happened is narcissistic amnesia. And this is why I said that collective human consciousness is experience this amnesia. And this is why this subject is such a difficult, the possession. Okay. But you guys know, couple of days, guess who died? Guess who died 2 days ago? You guys know. Vatican is not having a beautiful May. They are not enjoying beautiful flowers because Dad cannot enjoy beautiful flowers. So I'm singing because I'm happy that Black Pope is dead, you guys. Okay, you guys. So I don't know. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Bing Bang Boom. So this is your boom. This is when you stand in warrior. This is when you know. This is when the truth rings. So, you guys, this is when you know you're wild. So I'm gonna keep continue on this subject. I thank you so much for joining me. Please like this videos. And please comment if you have questions, because a lot of time here, I'm not sure which question or not. And because this subject, I'm going to be going with this and talking about in more simpler terms. So if there is something you guys wanted to, for me to sort of go back more and touch on, possession and actually more of the techniques and patterns and things like that, or anything else, just please write it in the comments what it is that you guys wanted me to expand on, or what direction it is that you can benefit from this more, because I'm not sure there's so much, because it's been my lifetime work. This is my baby, you guys. So I know a lot about possession. So thank you so much. I observe it and I've studied it. I made a lot of notes and I have a lot of knowledge sort of passed on through other, teachers and things like that. So, thank you so much, you guys, for being here. You all stay wild. And until next time, love you all. Mwah. Bye, everybody. Bye, Bella. Bye-bye. Much aloha to you too, Teresa. Elemental, thank you. Children, about possession. Yeah, I'll come back to children. Definitely going to dive into children. I mean, I want to come back to couples and stuff like that, because you guys know I always want to bring and show you the side of how it is when you're in wellness. So you guys always have foundation with me. So you know where you're standing. Love you all. Bye.